Guys, Yasmin Brown is back at it again. You know, she's back in her woke ways. Well, she never left her woke ways. She's always been extremely woke. So just a very quick introduction before we proceed into the content. And that is, you know, the UK Supreme Court passed a law saying what a woman is. You know, XX chromosomes, you know, adult human female, things that, you know, I was taught in primary school. I was taught this in primary school, but we need to be reminded in 2025 because things have got so woke. And Yasmin Brown is saying, yeah, I don't like that. You know, I'm fighting for trans rights, you know, at the expense of women's rights. She wants to fight for trans rights and say that, no, they're welcome in female spaces as well. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, man. But, you know, when it comes to Yasmin Brown, this level of wokeness, she never fails to amaze me anyway. But anyway, guys, let's get straight into the content. And if there's any comments, then I'll just make it along the way.
The Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who's celebrated the Supreme Court ruling online, also demanded Starmer and others in Labour apologise for, she said, siding with trans activists over some of society's most vulnerable women. And that's J.K. Rowling with a cigar after the Supreme Court verdict. Oh, my goodness. Well, Gitto, you start on this, because Starmer has definitely said a trans woman is a woman, and now he says a trans woman is not a woman.
Yes, he said in the past 99.9% of women actually don't have, you know...
A penis.
Yes, exactly. And he's wrong. And it's patently obvious to a lot of us
because it's 100%.
that was wrong. Yes, exactly. 1 in 1,000 people with, you know, it's just not true. But what is more relevant, and I think Kemi Badenoch was right to sort of exploit this yesterday, is that he did hound a woman who, with great dignity and restraint and very respectfully, tried to make the case for women as a feminist. And she was hounded. Rosie Duffield was hounded out of the Labour Party because the trans activist lobby were out to destroy her. And the same with J.K. Rowling. The vile and vitriol that has been directed at her as one of the greatest sort of living authors in the English language, certainly in these isles, is disgusting. And she got that because she actually maintained something that is a perfectly coherent intellectual point of view to take and perfectly understandable in defence of women.
Yasmin, you reply.
Well, I'm a woman, I'm a feminist, and I don't consider myself an enemy of trans women. I never have, I never will, and I do.
But nor does Gitto. It's whether or not you see them as women.
I'm actually speaking for myself, not about Gitto.
Yes, I know, but
can I just speak for myself?
I'm just trying to understand
it's
what you're
really
saying.
important for me to say what I believe.
Okay, understood.
Without reference to what.
No, whether they're women or not. That's the
no. So first thing, I'm not an enemy of trans women. I also find it quite problematic that femaleness is defined biologically. I grew up fighting the idea that I behaved a certain way because I was having my period, as my male bosses would say. Oh, having a period now, or you're menopausal now. So there's a big problem for me. 1%, 10%, 1% of women are trans, and the hideousness of what's happening at the moment. You know, J.K. Rowling is a very good writer, but that shot of her on her super yacht with her cigar really kind of upset me.
But she's been through it, as Gitto says.
No, she hasn't been through anything, actually. She's very powerful. She's used her power and for her cause. That's fine. But heck, whenever you speak up to say, I don't share this panic. Most rapes are not carried out by trans women. 99% of rapes are carried out by men.
Yeah, but
we
some
talking about
rapists
them.
then identify as
like
trans.
The biggest problem we women face is from trans. And I also think, what happens to a trans woman if she has to now go to a male toilet? Do we not have an obligation to think about that? As for Starmer, I agree that he blows with the wind. But on this yesterday, I think he was right. And I really say that about him.
Well, because he's talked about compassion. Let me bring in the trans inclusion specialist, Joanne Lockwood, on this. Joanne, what do you think? Because we seem to be in this... The argument seems to be now about the biological truth versus being kind and not forcing an argument.
Thank you for inviting me on. I'm also a feminist and a woman. I may not be a biological woman, but I'm a certificated woman. I'm a legally a woman. And this is where the law has now created this massive confusion. We now have two classes of women, one legal, one biological. And the Equality Act only recognises one of those. We've got confusion in the law, we've got confusion in the workplace, we've got confusion in society. I am not one who wants to force somebody to apologise. We do this too often. We beat people up, we bully people for political gain, and that's how trans people have been treated as a political football for many, many years, especially during the last Tory leadership competition. We hounded people who had any inclination that they were trans positive. It's not an ideology, this is our lives. This is how we live. We're not making stuff up. We're not a threat to anybody. We want to live our lives with dignity and respect. And that's all we ask. And I think to bully Keir Starmer for changing his mind, for willy-nilly, whatever you want to call it, is unfair. He is
Okay, so
supporting
you
the law.
don't
And
think
if you
he should
actually listen to what he
apologise,
says,
Joanne? You don't think he should apologise?
I think he should apologise to trans women as well. I think he should apologise to trans people throughout the UK, throughout the world, because he has an inconsistent approach. We need consistent approach from our lawmakers. We need consistent approach from the EHRC. Look at the 2011 guidelines. It is completely trans inclusive. And now what we're saying is we're winding that back. And you can't say it's an ideology. The ideology is a label that's been thrown to dehumanise us, to invalidate our positions.
Just if I could just pause, sorry, just because we've got other things to get through, and I do want you to stay. Let's just take a look at the different things Keir Starmer has said on the issue. In 2021, while he was in opposition, he was asked by Andrew Marr to weigh in on Rosie Duffield's belief that only women have a cervix.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. But Andrew, I don't think that...
So Rosie Duffield should not have said that.
OK, yeah, that's pretty clear. In 2022, he told The Times a woman is a female adult. In addition to that, trans women are women. So that seems almost to be two contradictory thoughts. The same year, he got flustered when pressed on his views by LBC's Nick Ferrari.
A woman can have a penis.
Nick, I'm not... I don't think we can conduct this debate with, you know...
Sorry, have I offended you in some way?
No, it's just...
In 2023, he told the Sunday Times that 99% of women do not have a penis, as Gitto was telling us. He was again challenged on that by LBC.
There are a small minority of people
but not
who
one in
do
1,000, Sakir.
Sorry, well, I mean, Nick, 99.9 was just the general sense, the vast majority. You can put whatever description you like on it.
In April last year, he rode back on his previous criticism of Rosie Duffield on GMB.
Is it right or is it wrong for Rosie Duffield to say only women have a cervix?
Well, look, biologically, she, of course, is right.
She's right.
OK, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the end of it. I don't know.
This is what happens when you stand for nothing. You know, you flip-flop around to please your constituents, and then you're trying to abide by the law. So your constituents are saying that, listen, a woman should be whatever a woman wants to be. Like, whoever wants to be a woman should be a woman. You're like, okay, cool. And then the law is now saying, no, a woman is a biological female, an adult human female with XX chromosomes. And then you're like trying to navigate. And this is why it's flip-flopping, because he stands for nothing. And we see that in, you know, those clips that were just played now by Jeremy Vance. So he has no stance on the matter. Yeah, he simply has no stance on the matter. And it's a shame, you know, because in 2025, you need honest talking politicians that can just have clarity and just say it for where it is. Sometimes you have to say the uncomfortable truths, and they just have to come out. You just have to say it. Sorry, but that's how it goes. But he just can't do that. And he carries on flip-flopping. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.